This will be my Flash 102 review titled Fastest Man Alive. If you guys enjoyed the video, hit the like button down below, subscribe for new, turn notifications on, and let's jump right into the review. So, just gonna break it down into groups, I think, for the characters, and then we'll jump into some other stuff as well. To begin with Barry and Joe, we got a lot of flashbacks with young Barry trying to see his father and hating Joe for, Joe not letting young Barry see Henry, which Henry wanted. He didn't want Barry to see his father like that, which, is really sweet of Henry, if you think about it. And, young Barry, at this point, believes that his father is innocent, which he is, but no one believes him. So Joe, obviously an 11-year-old boy protecting his father, he's a cop. He knows that kind of stuff. He's seen that before. So I think when you look at it from that point of view, it's really easy to see it from that point, which also tied into present day Barry and Joe. Kind of just, Barry yelled at Joe that he's not his father, and it was a really emotional scene between Barry and Joe, and gut-wrenching scene between Barry and Joe. But I also think it's important to point out that it's really cool to, and also kind of heartwarming to see where the relationship ended in, like, season 8, because he wasn't in season 9 much, I don't think. But the relationship from, like, season 1 to, like, season 8 and 9, how much has grown. And obviously it's grown in season 1 a lot. I think it obviously grew a lot in season 1 when Barry became the Flash, and they started to spend a lot more time together. That was really when the relationship started to pick up. But it is really cool to look back on all this and be like, they were really not happy with each other, but there were times where they would come at each other's, they would just go at each other. Because Barry didn't really think of Joe as a father. And actually, at the end of the episode, Barry does tell Joe that he was like a father to Barry. And that was a really emotional scene at the end. And, they introduced Simon Stagg, who got killed off at the end of the episode by Thawne, aka Wells. I also forgot that happened. So when I was rewatching, I was like, holy shit. But Simon Stagg was interested in the Flash, and then Thawne killed him, so that way, But he was interested in them because the Flash saved Thawne. And, the Flash saved Stagg. And so he got interested now as being a scientist. Which the entire reason why the Flash saved Stagg was because the new meta that's in town can duplicate himself. He was a former, I think, employee of Stagg, I want to say. I don't entirely remember. But, I watched the episode last time. I'm recording it this morning, so I had sleep, so I don't entirely remember the episode, but, at least in those parts. But, it was a really cool fight. I think, yeah, you can call it a fight, between Barry and the new meta. There were some parts where I was like, why isn't Barry using his speed? Like when they were in that warehouse, and there were like 4 or 5 of them when Joe and, I think it was Eddie, wasn't it? Were in that shootout. And then Barry runs in, disarms all of them, and tells Joe to run, but he doesn't, so Barry runs Joe out himself. Like, why didn't Barry super speed punch him? Because he did it the previous episode, right? No, he didn't. I could have sworn he did it, so I don't remember. But I think it's also an excuse to where, like, if this was, like, season 2 or beyond Barry, like, this wouldn't be acceptable, we'd be judging it like crazy, which we do later on. But, like, for season 1, for the second episode, Barry's still letting his speed. And I don't remember when he started throwing punches at super speed. Well, no, he did it in this episode. But the more and more he does it, the more and more he gets used to it. I don't think he really knew at the point in time that he could throw punches at super speed, which I think is fair to say, because, he's a scientist. He doesn't really act like it in early seasons because he's an idiot, but, he's still Barry, and he still cares deeply about protecting people. He always will. And, again, there were some moments where I was like, why isn't Barry using his speed? But that final fight with Barry and the metahuman was really cool. Now, the CGI, it could have been better. Keep in mind, this is 2014, CGI for television wasn't really anything. You had to deal with a budget on the CW, which isn't much of a budget at all. And so, again, 2014, who knows how much budget they actually gave the show in 2014. But the CGI in present day, I know it's not perfect, and I know a lot of people criticize it, but at least the CGI kind of worked better, I think, now than it did then. It still looked cool, but again, you gotta remind yourself, this was 2014, this is new, something that's never been done before, and, the entire scene where there's like hundreds of them just coming at Barry, it was a really cool shot, it was really cool overall. He ended up killing himself because he didn't want to live anymore, which, I'm surprised that Barry didn't beat himself up over it, because, like, in the later seasons, if that had happened, like, in season 5, Barry would have beat himself up. I think we all know that. Like, there's no way in hell that Barry, if that situation happened in season 2 or onward, Barry would have beat himself up. And I don't remember if in 103 he did, if he was blaming himself or not. I also don't remember if it was ever brought up again. But obviously Barry couldn't save him because he didn't know how to run up a wall. He was still learning his powers. So it would have been nice to see Barry kind of just like beat himself up some. Just a little bit. Not much, but it would have been nice to see, because that's kind of part of the job and Barry's not used to that. So although he is CCPD, he is a CSI, he's seen more than most people. So I guess it does kind of work out in that way. But it still would have been cool to see nonetheless. We learned that Barry needs to eat like a certain amount of calories a day, more calories than a normal human being, because that's his digestive system is moving super fast. He can't, he passed out, I think, 3 or 4 times, didn't he? And he just needs to eat more. And Cisco ended up making like high protein bars or high calorie bars, so that Barry doesn't have to eat, an extraordinary amount of food. You can just eat those bars and they'll be good. Which, how that even works, I don't know. I mean, he's Cisco. We're okay with it, right? Kind of just comes with the territory for Cisco, I guess. But it was, going through that whole thing, it was really cool. Barry and Iris, Iris is trying to be a reporter. Knowing what I know now, I don't really care for the Iris in the later seasons, and I make that publicly clear. But Iris in season 1, 2, and kind of 3 was really good. She was being a reporter. She was doing all these things. In season 4, she became team leader, which was stupid. In season 5, same thing. Season 6, kind of both. But Eric Walls kind of got away from Iris being team leader, which is good, because she didn't need to be team leader at all. It was the most pointless thing they've ever done on the show. Besides Barry, not being the Flash for most of the series. And by that, I mean, not him using his speed properly and all that. It was kind of ridiculous to look back on. But I do think it's important to point out that, like I said in my last review, this show I will have nitpicks about this show now, rewatching it. Knowing what I know now, I will nitpick it in some spots. Like I said about Barry edging his speed during that one fight in the warehouse. Why didn't he do that? There's going to be nitpicks. I won't bring it up every 20 minutes, or 10 minutes even. But it is important to point out, why is this happening? And I think it's fair to say that this show has never been perfect. And as much as I love season 1, 2, and 2, there are flaws. You can't legitimately say that any season of this show is a 10 out of 10. I did my season ranking a couple days ago, and the highest ranked season I gave for season 2 was a 9.5 out of 10. I gave season 1 a 9 out of 10. And I gave it a 9 out of 10 purely because of stuff like what happened in this episode, where Barry's not using his speed. He should be. It was just ridiculous. And then there's some other stuff I didn't really care for as well. It's just part of the territory of the show. I think you gotta live with that. You can look past it and still say, yeah, this is an amazing show. But I got way off topic with Barry and Iris. Barry and Iris, you can tell that Barry wanted to tell Iris that he has feelings for her. You can tell that the entire episode. But obviously Barry won't tell Iris because she's with Eddie. And we find out later in the season that he waited too long, and he tells Iris that. I think in 109 or something. But yeah, overall, it's a really good episode. I did enjoy it. It wasn't, I don't think it was as good as the pilot. In my opinion, which is weird because I generally like second episodes more than the pilot. I don't know what they could have done differently for me to like it better. I think it's just, I was comparing it to the pilot too much. I was like, okay, you know, I think that's kind of the mindset I had, but overall, probably like an 8 out of 10 episode, I'd say. I give the pilot, I think, a 9, didn't I? Or maybe an 8, I don't remember. But it definitely wasn't as good as the pilot. So, yeah. Thank you guys for watching. Have a good day. Have a good night. Stay safe. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.